few weeks ago, on one of the trips that I lead to Israel, there was an accident. Two of our women were walking in the street on the last day of the trip, and it was a heavy rain that day. It was the first heavy rain of the season. And everybody in Israel knows that the first heavy rain is dangerous. Why? Because all the dirt and the grease and the dust and everything becomes very slippery. Well, there was a bus, and it slipped back, and it hit them. Both of them went to the emergency room. One looked terrible, but the doctors told us that she's going to be fine. And one looked pretty fine, but they said that it's very, very serious. So the one whose face was very scraped up and had a head injury, she did recover beautifully, and now she's home recovering, even more. But one woman is still in the hospital. Her name is Liana. She's very special. She's from Brooklyn, and we've become very, very close. When I was in Israel, I tried to go to the hospital every day to see her. And I have to tell you, out of 400 women, well, on each trip, how do I possibly get to know them all? I can't. They come with their own city groups, and they get to know their city leaders and each other. And there's usually just a handful of women that I really get to know. It happens to be that I got to know Liana on the trip before the accident. We were walking from the hotel, the Western Wall, to the hotel Friday night for dinner, and her city leader asked me to talk to her because she had some questions. What was her question? Well, she's married to a guy who's not Jewish, and through this trip she was so touched and moved, and she said, how do I get my husband here? I want him to see this. I want him to hear this. I want him to experience this. How do I get him to Israel? So I told her, go back and be a good example, and if he's interested in becoming Jewish, I'll try to get him on the men's trip. And that's where we left it. And her city leaders told me that on the last day, she kept saying, how do I get my husband here? How do I get my husband here? Well, then there was the accident. And her husband flew to Israel and has not left her side. His name is Angel, and he's aptly named. He's a very special person. And I said to Angel, how do you feel? Like you've never been to Israel before, and how do you feel about being here? He said, when people are against Israel, people are against God. I have to tell you, they've been incredible inspiration to me and everybody who's met them. Liana told me after one of her surgeries, and she's had several, she goes, Lori, I do not regret this trip. I feel so blessed. She goes, I lie here in the hospital and I see the unity of the Jewish people. People visiting her who don't even know who she is. Religious, not religious, Russian. It's amazing. Please, keep Liana in your prayers. Leah bat Ruth. Leah, the daughter of Ruth. And 3 days before the accident, she received a Jewish name on the top of Masada because she's of Russian descent, and she was never given a Jewish name. And now she has, and we're going to use it for good. May you have a complete recovery, Liana. I love you and miss you. I'm Lori, almost live.